Hello, a very, very warm welcome. I can see there are some people online, which is great. Um, it's a bit weird talking to yourself, so it's much nicer to have people joining from Berlin, which is wonderful. Hi, Yasmin, wonderful having you here. From the UK, from California, where I am at the moment. And believe it or not, it's sunny today, which is almost an exception at the moment here in Southern California. Very, very weird. But it's good for the environment. So that's at least something. Well, it's so, so wonderful to see you, to connect, and to feel energetically the connection. This is what this show is all about. It's about connection. It's about realizing that on our path, we are not alone. And today we'll look at a topic which is a bit different from what I had expected. Yesterday, I went running, and at some stage, I felt a bit more relaxed and open, and I just asked my guides what I should talk about as a topic for today's show. And the first word that came into my mind was compromise. And I thought, that's odd. This is more political or something like that. But the more I thought about it, the clearer it became that there is a reason looking at that. So we'll explore the idea of compromising in our lives and what we can achieve with that, and especially why this is so important in the first place. And I'm just looking at some comments here. It's just fabulous having you all here and doing the show every week. Tomorrow is an interesting day for me, as it's the book launch in California, and it's a bit scary because it's just new. It's different. In the UK, I pretty much know what to expect, and we've got the same again as last week. Some phone is ringing, so we'll have to endure that for a second. I have not managed to find a way to silence the phones in this apartment where I'm staying at the moment. So this just shows that everything is live and spontaneous. Um, and this is what it is. It's spontaneity is really, really important because it's simply what we need to do. If there is a situation we deal with, we have to deal with this situation often then and there. So spontaneity is something that's very much part of human life, and sometimes really puts us on the spot. And along these lines, the idea of compromise is also placed, because sometimes we just need to take a deep breath and think about how we can act or react beyond our initial surprise, puzzlement, or even anger. Um, so when I was running yesterday, I got this idea in my mind about compromise, and a lot of what I'm doing here has got to do with a certain degree of compromise as well. It's all very new, lots of things I don't quite know, and the book signing tomorrow is also different. In London, it took place, and some of you were there or joined online in a big church with a crowd, primarily, I suppose, knowing me, wanting to hear about the new book. Here in Los Angeles, is happening in an art gallery. So there's a lot of distraction. It's contemporary art, it's contemporary design, it's furniture, it's a beautiful showroom, but it's a very different setting. And for a week or so, I've been thinking about how to uh, kind of how to approach people in this environment and how to bring it all together. The first compromise I had to make was that I can't speak as long as I'm used to. In London, I think I spoke about 80 minutes or so. Here, it's 15. And even that is slightly longer than people normally talk in something like this. So I have to be really, really precise and prepare for it. But the beauty is I do have help. And I know that there is a lot of help uh, through guidance, through intuition, and particularly through my guides. And this was one of these incredible uh, breakthroughs I had working on the last book, identifying my personal guides. And it turns out that it's not guides that are necessarily with me all my life. They are here for the time being to work on certain projects. And one of them was a particularly interesting discovery. A friend of mine, Elke, a psychic medium who will be a guest on the show very soon, came for dinner a while ago, a few months ago, to my place in London and said, "There is this presence. Have you noticed that guy?" And I said, "Well, it's interesting when I write, I often feel that what I'm writing is not coming right from me. So there is something coming through. And sometimes I think, oh, this is what I'm supposed to write." So that was very, very interesting. And so she identified this guy who said, well, looked very kind of intellectual, like a teacher, a professor. So she called him the professor. So every time she came and every time I became aware of him, I thought, oh, it's the professor again. And then the next time, or a few weeks later, when she came around, she said he really likes being called a professor, but he wasn't a professor. He was, but he did write, and his writings are still in print. And I thought, and she said about 300 years ago, and she said, no. Then I thought suddenly this is very, very weird. I immediately had this idea. We're talking about the age of enlightenment. We are talking about the age of huge scientific and philosophical development, basically the beginning of modern times. And what came into my mind is the name Leibniz. Gottfried Leibniz was a German philosopher. And he's famous for all sorts of things, particularly for biscuits. Because in the UK, if you look at balsam butter biscuits or something like that, sometimes with a half chocolate, half biscuit, you'll find the word or the name Leibniz on it. Because in the late 19th century, it was some kind of fashion in Europe to give names of famous people to products. This is why you have the Mozart pralines and Leibniz biscuits, because Gottfried Leibniz spent a lot of time in Hanover, and this is where the biscuits were made. So I just love this kind of gossipy background information. It's really interesting. So I got this idea in my mind and thought, okay, that's interesting. And then a few weeks later, I was working on a chapter of particular importance to me. It covers the theodicy question, the question about the righteousness of God's actions. It is a philosophical, it is a theological question. And it's basically summed up in, if there is a God, if there is a higher power, why is the world as bad as it is? Why is there so much suffering? Why is there so much hatred? Why are there so many accidents? Why is life such a challenge? And I was working on this, and I just wanted to get it right, not to use this name theodicy, which interestingly was a question I first came about when I was, I think, 14 or so, because that was always the big question in my life, uh, why the world is as it is. And I Googled theodicy, and the description was exactly the same as I just said or mentioned, the righteousness of God. But there was one book that was called Theodicy, and that was written by Gottfried Leibniz. And not only that, it was published in 1710. And in my previous book, Proof of Reiki, Proof of Eternity, one of the proving points is the number 1710. There is a chapter in this book talking about my life and really important moments in my life when the number 1710 popped up. 1710, in European way of putting it, is my birth date, 17th October, 1710. And so this is the number I see when there's something really important. And suddenly I realized this connection. So I thought that cannot be a coincidence. There is something deeper to that. And then I started Googling Gottfried Leibniz. And it turns out that he was offered a professorship in law, and he turned it down. So he never was a professor indeed. So it's kind of these little bits of information and of proof that makes it much more believable when we get intuition. And there is something that I then, well, look at famous quotes and things he worked on. He is known as the father of modern computer science. He had the idea that there was a level smaller than atoms. He didn't call it quantum level, he gave it a different name, but he talked about the smallest particles, and that everything's made out of these particles, and on that level everything is roughly the same. So he started this. He was the first person to come up with a calculator, a mechanical calculator. It's just unbelievable what this guy did in his life. He was a universal brain, unbelievable. And so he guided me, and it became clearer and clearer that this connection was not only there, but of huge importance. And when I looked up his work, there was one quote, one sentence that I found stunning. It says, "The point or the viewpoint of the others is the truth." The viewpoint of the other is the truth. And it's really something that is worth thinking about and considering. We may think they are completely wrong because we have formed a very distinct view on something. We have done research, we just know our subject, and somebody has another point of view. But sometimes when we then switch to the other person's viewpoint, we try to look at what we're working on from this angle, we realize that there's also truth in that viewpoint. When we see a house from the outside, we look inside through the window and we can see the inside. And then we go around and there's another window and we look inside, and the inside looks different because we are looking at it from a different angle. So we all are looking always from different angles. We have different ages. We have different experiences of life. We have had a different upbringing. And so we understand things differently. Each of us understands things differently. And this is where the compromise comes in. Every question we have, everything in life that includes other people includes a compromise. What am I cooking tonight? Well, if I cook for myself and can cook whatever I like, if I cook for somebody else, they may have a different taste, or they may have an allergy. So something may be in a dish that we would put in, but the other person can't have. So we need to compromise. Why are we going on holiday? Well, we may have to compromise depending on our time and our finances. But if we go with partner, friend, family, they may have different ideas. Some like the mountains, some like the seas, some like sun, some like a more balanced climate. So we need to discuss that, and we need to come up with something that works for everyone. The whole human existence is built around compromise. We learn, we develop from compromise. And reaching a compromise means we reach an agreement, we build a bridge, we connect, we acknowledge each other and the potential differences, but also the fact that we need to come to a conclusion now, to an outcome that is beneficial for both of us. So a compromise, in a way, sums up what we are. We are not individual beings. We are connected. And realizing that right or wrong may be quite strong in our opinion. But when we look at an aspect, a question from the other side through the lens of another person, then we may see that there's also a way to see it differently. Sometimes compromise may mean alternating things. One person likes to listen to classical music, the next person to jazz, the third to heavy metal, and we all share a house. So we need to either everybody goes into their respective rooms and or puts on headphones, or we alternate, or we find something that we can all agree on. And once we've found an agreement, we have peace. Compromise is a way to peace on earth and to inner peace. Because interestingly, sometimes we want to do two things that are incompatible. We want to do two things at the same time. So we need to find a compromise somehow. We need to decide what's better for us or how to kind of bring the two different ideas together. So compromise always means harmonizing things, bringing things together, finding a bridge and finding a way forward. And when we look at the state of the world, when we look at politics, when we look at different traditions, different ethnic groups, different ideas, there is so little compromise. And I quite strongly feel that our, not ability, but our intention, our will to compromise has got much less since COVID. No matter from which angle you look, everybody felt this was not enough, that was not enough, or that was too much, or that was too much, in terms of measures, in terms of how it all unfolded. And ever since, people have kind of hardened up in their very individual viewpoints. Only, of course, we are not just individual, we are connected. And I feel Reiki can really, really help us with this. And I would like to do an exercise, or ideally two exercises, one after the other, just exploring this experientially a little bit. And to do that, I would ask you to just think of something where you have a certain idea, maybe a very strongly held opinion, or you're working on a project and somebody else has got a very different opinion. There is a clash, and you haven't really been able to bring this together. You struggle working with that person, or even communicating with this person, or even being in the same room with this person, because the viewpoints are just so different. Whether it's a friend, whether it's a colleague, whether it is a family member, or whether it is somebody from a different political party or a different tradition or group, whatever it is. Just take a moment to think what it is in your life where you have a very strong opinion or work on an idea or project, and somebody else or a whole group of people have a very different view of that. And now let's involve Reiki and let's ask Reiki to help us to go a bit deeper. So just take a moment to close your eyes, bring your hands together, and connect to Reiki. And then just think about the problem, the idea that you have, the strongly held view, and think of the other person or group that holds a very different view. And now ask Reiki to help you see this issue, this topic, from the other person's viewpoint, through the lens of the other person. And then slowly bring your hands up to your third eye and just see what comes into your mind. And then bring your hands back down. Thank Reiki and slowly come back into the here and now. For me, that was really interesting. I took a subject that I feel very, very strongly about to do with the environment, and was thinking of people who see this very differently. And what came to me was not that they are right, but why they see it the way they see it. How this is filtered through fear and uncertainty. So, what came out of that for me was to address this fear more strongly when we speak next. And this I found was really, really interesting. So, I don't know what came up for you, but seeing something from another's viewpoint already is a great way to a deeper understanding. But you may still feel even though this viewpoint has merits, is right, makes sense, or it doesn't make much sense to you. At least you understand the other person better through this exercise. But then what's the outcome? How do we go forward? Let's just involve Reiki again. The same problem you were just thinking about, involving the same people or one person and the different viewpoints. You may just want to think of that again. Or you may have an idea of a problem you're dealing with where you have to reach some kind of compromise. It is stuck, there's stalemate, nothing is working, and you have to somehow find a way of getting closer to the other person, find a way of getting together and getting this obstacle out of the way, and so far it hasn't worked. Whatever it is, let's ask Reiki to help us. And when I say Reiki, I mean we are opening to higher vibrational levels, whether we call it energy, whether we call it guidance, or whether we actually feel there are individual guides, our spirit guides who help us, then doesn't really matter. Reiki is a gateway to all of this. So let's do this together once more. Just think of a problem, of an issue you're dealing with, of a situation you're in where you don't quite see a way out. And ask Reiki to help you to find a compromise. So once more, when you're ready, just close your eyes, bring your hands together. And then connect to Reiki and ask Reiki to help you find a way to compromise. Just bring your hands up to your third eye and see what comes into your mind. And now bring your hands back down and set your intention that Reiki may now help you on the way to reach this compromise. And you can do two things. Either you just open your hands and set your intention to send Reiki to this situation, or you just place your hands on your heart and allow the path to become clearer. Just send Reiki either to you dealing with the situation or to the situation. And then just bring your hands once more together, thank Reiki, and come back into the here and now. Thank you so much for joining, for doing this together. I think what we can really learn is that we can compromise without losing out. And when we've reached a compromise and we have found a way forward, it may not be exactly what we've set out doing, but we are getting there step by step. And we're not bulldozering our path through. We are bringing people in. We are reaching out. We are respecting other people. And this is just what all about what we really are. We are connected, and we are all different. And so we need to take that into consideration that there may be different views. I just see a comment here. If you haven't had an attunement, you're new to Reiki, can you still do these exercises? Yes, you can. Just set your intention and say, I'm now connecting to the universe. I'm connecting to universal guidance or even my spirit guides, and ask for guidance and for help. So this is possible, and I'm sure it will be helpful and it will work. But if I may say so, I would suggest at some stage giving Reiki a try. I've been thinking a lot about how to make things easier to uh, get into Reiki. And for some people, there are quite few hurdles. One may be that they really don't manage to get a weekend off or 2 days or so for a Reiki course. The other may be that the finances are very challenging. And so, what we've done recently, and it's now live on the Reiki Revolution website, is a Reiki 1 course at a as a standalone online course at a very, very significantly reduced price. And it's meant as a gateway to Reiki, to get a proper Reiki training. What's interesting, and I think I mentioned that before, my original idea was to do Reiki in 3 hours so that people can have an attunement, get some information about Reiki, and use Reiki for yourself. And I thought that was a very smart way in. And then if people want to go further, train more, and start giving Reiki to other people, they can they can deepen their training. But it didn't work at all. I spoke to some people, and I tried that on a friend of a friend, a very short introduction to Reiki with an attunement. The first question he asked was, and how can I use that to give Reiki to my mother? How can I use Reiki on my dog? So it is impossible to keep Reiki just for ourselves. And because of that, because other people are involved, we need to really get a proper training. So this is why this course, Bridge to the Universe, Reiki in 8 hours, is a complete Reiki 1 course with all the different steps of getting an attunement, or indeed 4, learning how to use Reiki for yourself, and giving Reiki treatments to others. So this is something that you may want to try out if you haven't learned Reiki as yet. You can also use that as a reminder of your Reiki training if it's been a long time ago, or indeed if you've got friends and family who you feel that would really benefit from Reiki. It's a great way into Reiki. And then at some stage, people can go further. They can take the next level, Reiki 2, or they can do a live course or so. But this connection to suddenly have healing hands, to feel something, is just so wonderful and so powerful. And I think we should share that as much as we can. So this is basically what I wanted to talk about today, and I'm looking at some of the comments here, and I'm really so appreciative of your feedback and your comments. It's really wonderful. Please bring more people to this show. Um, every Tuesday free. Bring more people to the Reiki Revolution website. Show the scientific proof of Reiki. Show the research results, how much it changes people's lives to learn Reiki, and just get more Reiki into the world. This is what we really need to do. And I really, really hope that tomorrow's book launch in LA will also be a step on this path of reaching more people, bringing more people to Reiki, and just sharing it, bringing it into every aspect, taking it out of this niche of being a complementary therapy, and making it a lifestyle of realizing I am a spiritual being in a body and I have help. And with this, I can reach out to the soul in the other person and help them as well. We together can create an incredible experience on this planet. Yes, Deborah, I just see you're asking whether confirmation has come through. Yes, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Great, great having you there. So I got this confirmation. It'd be lovely if you can send a quick confirmation if you're coming, so just that we get kind of a rough idea of numbers attending. And I'm sure it will be absolutely lovely feeling this community live as well. And now, as always, let's have a Reiki share where we can share Reiki with each other. I hope that the drill or whatever it is in the building next door where they're refurbishing is not too distracting in the background. So there's not much I can do. I'll at some stage need a studio somewhere with soundproofed walls and no telephone to make that a bit more professional. But at the time, I have to live with this. This is for the time being my first step into Los Angeles. Yes, so when you're ready, let's just once more connect to Reiki, then connect to each other, and then allow Reiki to work through us on everybody else, and through everybody else on ourselves. Now, live for everybody joining at the live broadcast, and for everybody who will join later in a replay. And I am still just so excited getting all this feedback, people saying, it works, it works. They can really, really feel it. So when you're ready, just set your intention to connect to Reiki. And then just reach out and connect with everybody else on this Reiki share. Either you just use your intention or you draw the connection symbol to really deeply feel the connection. And if you do find the background noise too distracting, you may just want to turn down the volume a little bit of your speaker at home. Excuse me. you may want to listen inside and just sense how you feel Reiki as healing, as flow, as connection, as peace, as harmony, as support. Just sense inside and deeply feel how Reiki works for you today, how Reiki feels for you today. And then you can slowly come back into the here and now. Take a moment to thank Reiki once more. And when you're ready, just open your eyes again. That was really powerful, wasn't it? I think it was incredible. So thank you for all, sending all the Reiki to me and to everybody. And thank you for creating this wonderful online community. If you are in London or elsewhere in the UK and can make it to London, of course, there are plenty of live courses at the Reiki Science Academy. And we're having workshops there. There is a Reiki Treatment Day workshop this Saturday on the 1st of April. There is a professional Reiki workshop in May. There are Reiki 1 courses, Reiki 2 courses, and they're all run by my wonderful colleague, Rupert Fawcett, who is a fantastic Reiki teacher. And um, it's just great to have this developing and continuing and reaching more and more people with the live courses in London. I am very regularly in London and of course for the master course in September, which I'm running the 5-day residential course in London myself, but I'll also be there to run some workshops over the course of the summer. And if you are somewhere in the United States and you have a group, you have a community, and would like to do something live in person, please reach out. I'm very happy to travel for a talk, a workshop, a course, anything from Reiki 1 to Reiki science, to past life regression, to intuitive Reiki, Japanese techniques. There's just so much we can do together and explore together. So if this is something that you would like to do, just give me a call. That's the sign again. And be in touch. So yeah, just send an email. And those who are around here and can make it tomorrow, I'm so looking forward to seeing you live in Los Angeles. So now I think we've had enough of all the interruptions. So it was the phone twice, it was me sneezing, and it was the power drill in the house next door. So hopefully it wasn't too distracting, but thank you so much for joining. And just as a little reminder as well, the book, There's a Way, The Reiki Revolution, is made up primarily of exercises for many different aspects of our everyday life. So please use this and ask Reiki for guidance to help you through. This is what Reiki is for. So I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you, Vinisha, for moderating this. Vinisha David from Alternatives, and they have got amazing workshops and talks at alternatives.org.uk as well. So there is just so much to help us on this path of development. Have a wonderful rest of the day, evening, wherever you are in the world, and see you next week. I just need to once more find the correct button. There it is. And then I say goodbye.